Biography of Lasantha Wickrematunge, excerpt. Lasantha Manilal Wickrematunge, 5 April 1958, birth time source. His biography, an email, 8 January 2009, was a prominent Sri Lankan high-profile anti-government journalist, politician, human rights activist and media personality who was assassinated in January 2009. In an editorial Wickrematunge had written shortly before his death, and that was published posthumously, he stated, "When finally I am killed, it will be the government that kills me." Career. Political career. Wickrematunge began his career as a lawyer, practicing as a defense attorney for 8 years. Whilst practicing law, Wickrematunge made his way into the political scene before entering into journalism, starting with the Island and Sun newspapers. Astrological portrait of Lasantha Wickrematunge, excerpt. Disclaimer: these short excerpts of astrological charts are computer processed. They are, by no means, of a personal nature. This principle is valid for the 62,944 celebrities included in our database. These texts provide the meanings of planets, or combination of planets, in signs and in houses, as well as the interpretations of planetary dominance in line with modern Western astrology rules. Moreover, since AstroTheme is not a polemic website, no negative aspect which may damage the good reputation of a celebrity is posted here, unlike in the comprehensive astrological portrait. Introduction. Your comprehensive astrological portrait. Here are some character traits from Lasantha Wickrematunge's birth chart. This description is far from being comprehensive, but it can shed light on her personality, which is still interesting for professional astrologers or astrology lovers. In a matter of minutes, you can get at your email address your astrological portrait, approximately 32 pages, a much more comprehensive report than this portrait of Lasantha Wickrematunge. The dominant planets of Lasantha Wickrematunge. When interpreting a natal chart, the best method is to start gradually from general features to specific ones. Thus, there is usually a plan to be followed, from the overall analysis of the chart and its structure, to the description of its different character traits. In the first part, an overall analysis of the chart enables us to figure out the personality's main features and to emphasize several points that are confirmed or not in the detailed analysis. In any case, those general traits are taken into account. Human personality is an infinitely intricate entity, and describing it is a complex task. Claiming to rapidly summarize it is illusory, although it does not mean that it is an impossible challenge. It is essential to read a natal chart several times in order to absorb all its different meanings and to grasp all this complexity. But the exercise is worthwhile. In brief, a natal chart is composed of 10 planets, 2 luminaries, the Sun and the Moon, 3 fast-moving or individual planets, Mercury, Venus and Mars, 2 slow-moving planets, Jupiter and Saturn, and 3 very slow-moving planets, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. Additional secondary elements are the lunar nodes, the dark moon or Lilith, Chiron and other minor objects. They are all posited on the zodiac wheel consisting of 12 signs, from Aries to Pisces, and divided into 12 astrological houses. The first step is to evaluate the importance of each planet. This is what we call identifying the dominant planets. This process obeys rules that depend on the astrologer's sensitivity and experience, but it also has precise and steady bases. Thus, we can take into account the parameters of a planet's activity, the number of active aspects a planet forms, the importance of each aspect according to its nature and its exactness, angularity parameters, proximity to the 4 angles, ascendant, midheaven, descendant and imam cheli or nadir, all of them being evaluated numerically, according to the kind of angle and the planet angle distance, and quality parameters, rulership, exaltation, exile and fall. Finally, other criteria such as the rulership of the ascendant and the midheaven etc. are important. These different criteria allow a planet to be highlighted and lead to useful conclusions when interpreting the chart. The overall chart analysis begins with the observation of three sorts of planetary distributions in the chart: Eastern or Western Hemisphere, Northern or Southern Hemisphere, and quadrants: Northeastern, Northwestern, Southeastern and Southwestern. These three distributions give a general tone in terms of introversion and extroversion, willpower, sociability, and behavioral predispositions. Advertisements. Then, there are three additional distributions, elements, called triplicity since there are three groups of signs for each one: fire, air, earth and water corresponding to a character typology; modality, or quadruplicity with four groups of signs for each one: cardinal, fixed and mutable; and polarity, yin and yang. There are three types of dominance: dominant planets, dominant signs and dominant houses. The novice thinks astrology means only to be Aries, or sometimes, for example, to be Aries ascendant Virgo. It is actually far more complex. Although the Sun and the ascendant alone may reveal a large part of the character, approximately a third or a half of your psychological signature, a person is neither just the Sun, called the sign, nor just the first house, the ascendant. Thus, a particular planet's influence may be significantly increased. A particular sign or house may contain a group of planets that will bring nuances and sometimes weaken the role of the ascendant, of the sun sign, etc. Lastly, there are two other criteria: accentuations, angular, succedent and cadent, which are a classification of astrological houses and types of decanates that are occupied. Each sign is divided into 3 decanates of 10 degrees each. They provide some additional informations. These general character traits must not be taken literally; they are, somehow, preparing for the chart reading. They allow to understand the second part of the analysis, which is more detailed and precise. It focuses on every area of the personality and provides a synthesis of all the above-mentioned parameters according to sound hierarchical rules. Astrological quadrants for Lasantha Wickrematunge. Each quadrant is a combination of the 4 hemispheres of your birth chart and relates to a character typology. The southern hemisphere, the top of your chart, around the midheaven, is associated with extroversion, action, and public life, whereas the northern hemisphere prompts to introversion, reflection, and private life. The eastern hemisphere, the left part, around the ascendant, is linked to your ego and your willpower, whereas the western hemisphere indicates how other people influence you, and how flexible you are when you make a decision. Lasantha Wickrematunge, the diurnal southeastern quadrant, consisting of the 10th, 11th and 12th houses, prevails in your chart. Assertion and goals achievement are at the center of your concerns. You are very keen to implement your dreams and your plans. You achieve your ambitions as soon as possible, whether through an active social life, highly charged friendly relations, or an urge to take actions in order to reap in the eyes of the world, of course, the rewards of your dynamism. It is likely that spirituality or humanitarian actions are part of your motivations, sometimes at the price of some degree of isolation.